Hello, everyone. I trust you're enjoying a thought-provoking and action-provoking conference. I'm very disappointed I can't be there in person to share it with you. Today, I would like to talk about Australia's new National Anti-Corruption Commission, or the NAC, that's NACC, as it's called. Your first thought is probably, what on earth does the NAC have to do with war or its prevention? A strong, independent and transparent anti-corruption commission is in fact an integral part of the apparatus that protects a peaceful democracy, exposes the misdeeds of those in power and holds them to account, and serves the national interest. And by that I mean the interests of the Australian people as a whole and our ancient lands. A robust anti-corruption commission is a critical foundation stone in achieving these aims. Given the political promises and high hopes we all held, it is bitterly disappointing that what we have seen to date from the NAC falls very far short of the promises. We were promised a transparent commission with real teeth, but the NAC's first year has been marred by secrecy and silence, a criticism levelled by former judge and current chair of the Centre for Public Integrity, Anthony Wheely. He added that you can't deter corruption by remaining silent. Its first major decision, which took a year to deliver, was to decline to investigate the robo-debt referrals. The 6 public servants referred to it by the Robo-Debt Royal Commission for possible corrupt conduct. The NAC outlined its reasons in a short statement, and it ended that statement by saying it would provide no further comment. This extraordinary closing sentence was criticised immediately by eminent barrister Geoffrey Watson, who said it reflected the exact opposite of what a transparent, accountable anti-corruption body should do and say. As the still unfolding scandal of the NAC's failure on the robo-debt referrals is making plain, the government's promised commission with real teeth appears not to have any teeth at all. Anthony Wheely fears that we have a timid NAC. He described as fatuous the NAC's reasoning for refusing to look at and take up the robo-debt referrals. Another former judge and long-term integrity advocate, Stephen Charles, said that by refusing to act, the NAC has betrayed its core obligation and failed to fulfil its primary duty. These are very strong words from 2 very fine judges. Several people have asked why I have taken and continue to take such an interest in the robo-debt referrals in my recent reporting. The NAC's response to robo-debt appears to sit outside my remit of investigating the arms industry and its connections with government. However, it's actually pretty closely related. First of all, of course, is the abject failure of achieving any accountability from the architects of this unlawful scheme for 500,000 plus of our fellow citizens affected by the robo-debt disaster. Of additional importance also is what this whole saga reveals about the way the NAC is going about its work. If we have a timid NAC, as Wheely fears, there seems little hope it's going to take aim at the obvious corruption in the Australian arm of the global arms industry. A strong NAC is vital for exposing arms industry corruption for the following reasons. The massive amounts of public funding being channeled into defence, and now with AUKUS, we're talking about insane amounts of money, which is a real honeypot for the corrupt. There are also inbuilt drivers towards corruption embedded in this industry, the high value and complexity of arms deals, the close association between the industry and political power, and the secrecy surrounding those deals under cover of national security. Also in Australia, we have a lack of specific anti-bribery and corruption measures of international best practice standard in any of our major defence procurements. There's also the repetitive revolving door of personnel between defence, the military, the arms industry and their lobbyists. And also the numerous red flags for corruption in past arms procurements and sustainment contracts, 2 of which are known to have been referred to the NAC, the BAE Systems frigate deal and more recently the Thales munitions factory deal. And there could be more, but we don't know. I wrote about these concerns surrounding the legislation that set up the NAC back in October 2022, which is 2 years ago now, and I have been watching it ever since. The flawed premise on which the NAC was set up means it's going to have difficulty exposing serious corruption in arms deals anyhow, and other arms deals and other defence contracts, sorry. And now the robo-debt disaster and its unwillingness to look at that shows that we may have a NAC that may not even have the will to take on these big investigations. Private hearings as a default are a big problem. The legislation establishing the NAC dictated that the NAC's hearings must be held in private unless the Commissioner decides to hold all or part of them in public. But in order to do that, the Commissioner has to decide exceptional circumstances justify it, and also that it's in the public interest. This is a very high bar, and unsurprisingly, so far there have been no public hearings. For arms trade investigations, however, public hearings in particular enable more effective investigations. Without them, witnesses with key information may not realise an investigation is occurring. And right now is a perfect example. None of us know whether the NAC's investigating any of the defence issues that have been referred to it. We just don't know. So without anybody knowing an investigation's going on, they're not going to know that they may have information that could feed in and help that investigation. The Federal Court Justice Brendan Murphy commented when approving the robo-debt class action that the whole robo-debt thing had exposed a massive failure of public administration. The same could be said about our weapons acquisitions deals by defence repetitively over decades. Secondly, it seems the government may have picked the wrong man to run the NAC, as both Stephen Charles and Geoffrey Watson have pointed out recently. Speaking generally, Watson said that a military background was the wrong skill set for an integrity commission. So he wasn't criticising Brereton personally, who he said had a fine legal background, but he did say that in general, military people love power. And how do you get power? You have control. And how do you get control? You've got secrecy, which is exactly the opposite kind of skill set that you want for an anti-corruption commission. And I agree with that. And certainly my recent experience in the last couple of months reporting on robo-debt and engaging with the NAC is that you can sort of start to sense this us and them mindset pervading the organisation, particularly how it's handling the public lashing over its unwillingness to take up the robo-debt referrals. It has pretty much battened down the hatches now and stopped answering questions from independent media. Indeed, my colleague Liz put in some more questions yesterday, following on some that I had put in a couple of weeks ago. And again, they've just point blank refused to answer our questions. So we are seeking accountability, transparency, and further information, but it's starting to feel like we've become the enemy. The next robo-debt decision, therefore, raises really big questions for me about its willingness to conduct meaningful investigations into the defence sector as well. And I, for one, am going to be continuing to scrutinise its activity and performance and to report on it. So that's it from me on the NAC, and I wish you all the best for the rest of your conference. Thank you.